Hey everybody, and welcome back to the road to Avengers Doomsday. In today's video, I am going to be doing a review on the sequel to Ant-Man, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Let's get straight into it. Alright guys, so let's start off with the positives. And there are quite a few. First of all, I really liked the introduction to the Wasp. After being Scott's mentor in the first film, Hope Van Dyne finally gets to suit up. She's honestly way more skilled than Scott Lang, no offense. And it was really cool getting to see her take a much bigger role in this movie. One of the most creative parts, once again, is the powers. The shrinking and growing effects are some of the most creative scenes in the MCU. Seeing cars, buildings, and hell, even Scott shrink and grow was really cool to see, and is honestly one of my favorite parts of the entire Ant-Man trilogy. Something that I didn't really bring up in my last review for the first Ant-Man movie is the quantum realm itself. It was really interesting getting to see the consequences of what happens if you stay in the quantum realm for too long. That reunion scene with Hope, Hank, and Janet was really emotional, and I loved that scene so much. That is enough for the positives, so you know what time it is. It is time for the negatives. Adding to that, let's talk about Ghost and the villains in this movie. So, first of all, Ghost, she isn't really a full-on villain in this movie. She is more of a anti-hero, like we see in Thunderbolts, who we're supposed to feel sympathy towards. Um, I actually do like the idea behind her character, and her powers are really cool, but she doesn't really feel like a full-on threat in this movie. Then you've got the other villains like Sunny Birch. Um, is it the DODC? I think so. I forget. But yeah, the other villains in this movie, they just feel like they're kind of there, if you know what I mean. None of them really stand out or feel important, and because of that, the movie never really finds. It never really feels like it has a strong central antagonist. Another major issue with this film is the stakes. I get that it's supposed to be more grounded than the other MCU movies, but with everything else happening in the MCU at the time, with Avengers Infinity War, which is what we'll talk about later, it doesn't feel that important compared to the other MCU movies. Another thing is that there is a lot going on in the story. You've got multiple groups chasing the same thing, and at times it just feels messy and overcomplicated. I also don't think this movie is as memorable as the first Ant-Man movie, which a lot of people could agree with. It is still fun, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have those standout moments that stick out with you. Some of the side characters in this movie also don't hit the same compared to the last film. They are still funny, but like I said, they don't stand out as much. And finally, the last point is that the timing of this movie hurts a little bit. It came out right after Avengers Infinity War, the best Marvel movie, in my opinion. And it just felt disconnected from everything else going on. Sure, we got that post credit scene at the end with Ant-Man dusting, with not Ant-Man dusting, but Hope, Hank, and Janet dusting, and Ant-Man just being stuck in the quantum world for 5 years. But it still feels like a side story instead of just something important. Overall, Ant-Man and the Wasp is a fun sequel, but with that being said, it is not as good as the first film. Stay tuned for my next video on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And keep in mind, you might hear me crash out in that video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.